Are you ready? Today is the last live stream of the week and welcome back to my Facebook Live. And my name is Jimmy Cheng. I'm a professional photographer, filmmaker and an Olympus ambassador. So if you're new here, this is all about photography, filmmaking and of course, yes, Michael Fourthird, especially Olympus gear. So you can ask me anything about anything relating to photography and filmmaking. Gosh. I don't want to say that again. Anyway, so welcome back. And I do have something to say today. As you can see, the title of my post is about cropping images. And if you've been following me around long enough on my YouTube channel, I did talk about this particular subject multiple times, more relating to megapixels. Because, okay, there are two things here. First of all, because there are a lot of people are raving about high number of megapixels. Yeah, you know, the bigger the number, the more megapixels, the better in any camera. Is that true? No, of course not. You know, that's solely depending on whether you need those pixels or not, whether you're going to need it to print big or something like that, or maybe you need to crop the hell out of everything. This is exactly the point I want to raise today, because someone may argue, you know, oh, Olympus camera only has 16 and 20 megapixels, so it's not really good for cropping, isn't it? So this is more like a debate issue, whether you really want to crop your images or not. Ralph, good morning. And you know, you already said about fill your frame, you know, with everything that you want to include to start with. Yes, that is correct. And let's talk a little bit about my own experience before I show you a couple of examples why that could sway your decision whether you want to crop or not. From my perspective, I don't usually crop images to zoom in, if you know what I mean. Because let's say if sometimes you, let's say you don't have a long enough lens to get close to a subject, for instance, then you may want to snap that picture and you want to crop in so that like you get that reach, you know, get that just a little bit closer to the subject. To a certain extent, I mean, that's exactly what I would do, but I wouldn't do, let's say that I'm shooting with a 12mm lens and I wanted to get as close as a 300 and just basically crop into a tiny little section or portion of the actual image itself and get that picture done. That is not the point, and in fact that is really, really bad, unless it's really for paparazzi purposes, like you're just going to have just that little image for your newspaper or magazine. But you know, apart from that, there is no artistic value there. There's no quality there to speak with, because you are cropping so much, you just basically lose all the details. You probably even be able to see clear with the faces and things like that as well. So what I usually do cropping is maybe just to reposition the image just ever so slightly. You know, especially if you're a location photographer, wedding photographer, someone who basically take photograph live, you know, like not post up and things like that. You have less time to react in those instances, and you may want your images to be better represented, and so you do a little bit cropping there just to move your framing just a little bit. As you know, when you're doing on the fly, sometimes you just cannot hold the camera to that particular point that you really want the subject to be aligned with. Let's say rule of third or any other compositional a theory that you may want to apply for your photography. Sometimes it may or may not happen. So in that case, I would do a little bit like that. Maybe I'll rotate the images slightly just to get a little bit straighter. For instance, this part of the cropping, so because you do lose portion of the photograph. And good morning, Brad. Good morning, Barana. Oh, afternoon, Barana. Excellent. So to me, I think I would crop my image just to enhance it slightly, to enhance the photograph that I want to present it to my viewers. Not so much of I want to get into the photo, because that's what Ralph said already. You know, if you really want to get into the photo, you use the wrong lens to start with. You should be using a much longer lens to get straight into the subject's face, whatever. You know, if you are just very far away from the subject, use a longer telly, and don't relying on like high megapixels and then you cropped the hell out of it afterward. Okay, you may actually achieve the same. Let's say you have a 50-60 megapixel camera. If you crop into a quarter of it, I mean, you still got about 20 megapixel, right? 15-20 megapixel. That means you probably still get about the same image quality into pixel terms as a Micro Four Third camera. But that's besides the point. You know, like if you're having those megapixel, your primary purpose is to crop for your images, then you are really not doing it right. So photography is not really about that. So let's go and see what you guys are saying then, Brad. And you mentioned here, oops, there you go. Just slightly wrong here. How come your comments becoming so big? Right, let me just shrink it down a little bit. And so cropping absolutely changed the frame format, improved composition, the makeup inadequate. Focal length not ideal, but sometimes necessary and successful. I mean, like I said, you know, like I only do it if I need to enhance my image, and I rarely want to crop into, let's say, focus on a subject if I'm just too far out. You know, that is not really something that I personally would like to do. But however, you know, also depending on the audience, right? Let's say if you want to present your work through social media, like, you know, on Facebook or something like that, because of the compression on Facebook's website, is actually not too bad. You may crop it in a little bit because you're not unlikely you're going to crop it, you know. I mean, I'm unlikely you're going to see the difference between having a 60 megapixels or having an 8 megapixel cameras. So in that instance, by cropping it in, you really can't tell the difference. But you do lose a lot of stuff though. Don't forget, you're cropping an image. By cropping an image, you're essentially losing depth of field. Just similar argument with people saying about crop sensors, cameras, and the effect of depth of field. This is exactly the same thing. So if you know, let's say if you are having a 60 megapixel full frame camera, you want to crop it down to a quarter of it, having only 20 megapixels, you are essentially just squeezing it down, the sensor size, and then you're not gaining everything that you are using your full frame for. So, you know, that's the kind of argument. But anyway, so Barana also has a comment about cropping as well, and let's bring it up. So, seriously, the comment's really weird. One is big, one is small. Rana say balance crop, level crop, composition crop, zoom crop, etc. Yes, there's lots of different cropping here, but I know for a fact that there are lots and lots of people out there, especially with those who have high megapixel, like either for APS-C or full frame cameras. They like to crop stuff because they think they can. They have too much information, they can just do anything they want. But that is really not photography if you're doing things afterward. You know, you guys know me well enough now, and I always like to do things like 99% in camera, like not after I take the shot. Yeah, so I'm trying to get everything right: exposures, color balance, compositions, and everything. But like I mentioned earlier, you know, if you're doing things live, you know, there is absolutely no excuses. You sometimes it's just a little bit difficult, you know, to get that composition dead on, you know, so you may have to do slight cropping just to move your images around to make it just a little bit better compositionally. Hi, good morning, Jason. So let me now time to get you some images that I really want to talk about, because it has so much to do with what I've just talked about. It can be a bit controversial, you know, if you guys are familiar with these images. And first of all, I would like to just show you a World War II image by Joe Rosenthal. So this is it. So this is the image, original image that he captured. You know, it looks like it's this, you know, very, you know, you definitely recognize this photo because it's one of the most famous wartime photos that you can see, you know, on newspaper, magazines, and any other historic channels. So it's a very significant a photograph that was snapped in that particular frame. In terms of composition, yeah, I don't see any problem there, because the subject is right there on center, is very well balanced, the exposure is just correct and everything like that. So there's no problem with that. But when it reaches the magazines and newspaper, they cropped it, you know, and then so this is the one that was published, and you can see immediately, you know, the difference between them. Right now, it's instead of being a landscape photo, it's becoming a portrait photo in terms of orientation. But now you're emphasizing even more on the soldiers at the bottom holding up the flag. So in terms of, like, he's looking at the negative space and the sky being superiorly emphasized, and only having the flag there is kind of having a stronger image. And I think in this particular case, cropping is definitely essential. And I think to make the image, like, let me just bring up the original image once again, and then so I'll put it side by side here. You can see that these two images, you can tell, you know, which one is slightly stronger. And I do think that the one on the left is actually stronger. The cropped image is stronger because you are losing some of the space that isn't quite telling the story as such. So it really trying to focus on the soldiers and the flag. So I think in this particular case, yes, cropping is absolutely cool. But what I would like to show you another one is that this one is definitely controversial. It's one is by one of the wartime journalists called Nick Uit. You probably heard of him. He's a Vietnamese wartime photographer. So let me Martin just like blame the graphic designer. Well, it might be a bit easier to say, you know, but back then there is no graphics designer as such. And let me just shorten the thing here. You know, all they have is just photo editors there, and the editors are basically, they would take the prints that was given from the photographer and manipulate it for the actual newspaper publication. And yeah, they can kind of like the olden days of graphics designer. But we remember back in them days there was no Photoshop or anything like that. They actually have to physically make a copy by cropping, and then like and also reprocess the photo and then print onto the photo and onto the newspaper. So it's a very complicated procedures and actually very manual and labor intensive stuff. But they do all kinds of crops. This is not, you know, a one-off. You know, is actually all the time. It happens all the time. Even if the photographer him or herself crop the image, when he reaches the editor, they still crop it. You know, they're still doing even more editings, like airbrushing, for instance. There's another really common technique in fashion magazines or any other kind of model-related magazines and publications. They're very, very common. And let's see what Brad is saying here. Cropping isn't what you're aiming for, but is most important sometimes to capture the moment that miss it while switching lenses or moving position. Correct. And of course, I mean, this sounded like still like a last resort, so to speak, because you know, like a lot of the time, you know, if you are more experienced in photography, especially for whatever you are photographing, and you would most likely be observing or anticipating certain moments and certain scenes to happen, and you will have your gear kind of ready for that shot. For instance, if I go to a wedding and if I'm photographing a wedding, I usually have two bodies with me. One is with a 17, one's a 25, depending. Sometimes I may have a 45 there as well. So, but I anticipate, you know, I know what is going to happen. For instance, first dance, I used to use wide angles. I'll have a 17, and frankly, you know, a photographer is still a human being, and also we only have one pair of eyes at any one time. You know, like we can only anticipate and see so much. You're bound to miss something, and I guess you can't really blame yourself or feel gutted about it if you do miss something. And but yeah, you're right about anticipating something. You know, sometimes you may see something really funny happening in the background, and so forth. You may want to just crop in, may actually looks a little bit better. Yeah, I can kind of see that application there, but it's kind of far and few in between, and it's unlikely that's happened. Like you said, it's probably one of those moments that that is so random and so something that you just don't expect to see. So let's give you this next image about Nick, and of course it's a very, very famous Vietnam War photograph, and just giving you straight away right now. So let me just see. So this, of course, is the original, and then this is the entire frame of it. This is not the one that it was first seen in public, because everyone saw the other version, which I'm going to give it to you right now, is this one right here. So this is the version that everybody sees. Like you see that once again, by cropping into the, you know, the really scared and distressed children's in front of the screens is way more impactful than the one that I showed you earlier, with, you know, everything included, in particular, the soldiers was having a cigarette on the right hand side of the frame. So I'll just bring them up side by side. You can see them next to each other once again. So let me just shrink this down because there's not enough space here. And let's see, I'm going to shrink this down right here. I'm going to bring this one right up. Okay, and right, so you can see this side by side now. Okay. Yeah, I think the original frame that is on the right here, you know, with those soldiers coming up from the field, especially the one at the forefront is having a cigarette, it kind of a little bit distracted, you know, and that is my take on it. There are debates on whether a journalist should crop the image because that doesn't reflect on the reality. And but how, for me, as a journalist, if you want to document something, if you want to tell the story, you really should focus on the message that you want your image to convey to your viewers. I know it's still debatable whether you are kind of manipulating the photos and point your viewer to a certain point of view. However, I mean, I think that from this particular thing, you know, you really want to show the terror of war, and you really want to show, you know, how horrible, you know, being in that sort of situations. And that soldier having a cigarette is completely the opposite. While the children's crying in the front and he is having a cigarette, is very conflicting image. I know the people who debated whether this image should be cropped or not were arguing, you know, okay, this is exactly what happened. These and the soldiers were really relaxed while the civilians were, you know, having a terrible time. I mean, I can see that that message there. I can see why people wanted to keep the original, and why the magazine eventually cropped it and showed the other side. I mean, there's two sides of it, right? And everything has always have two sides. And I mean, of course, I'm not really want to go into the nitty gritty bit about, you know, the Vietnam War and things like that. You know, the U.S. Army, you know, the local anything like that. I don't want to get into that, but I'm just purely looking at the photograph itself. I think both of them would work, depending on what sort of thing you want to see. But at the time, you know, of course, the published photo was talking about the terror of war, and that's actually the title of the photograph. And the one on the left hand side definitely served that purpose. So you know, every time I look at this picture, it's just very powerful. It just because of the people's reactions there, you know, the kids especially, they are so innocent, and that the kid naked in the middle of the frame, you know, that's exactly, you know, why you know they wanted to crop it into that particular section and portion, is that the overall balance of the composition is achieved by having that naked guy, kid right in the middle of the frame. But it's just very, very powerful. It's very sad to see this photo, and every time I see it, it just have the same thing. But if you go back to the other one, it suddenly, the whole vibe, suddenly everything just changed, and then and you don't get the same power anymore, and it's more like just a generic moment shot, you know, in a way, you know, just and also like this conflicting message that I was talking about earlier. You know, one side is terror, one side is. It's a completely normal day for a soldier, you know, having a fag, you know, just coming out, walking normally with a couple of others walking behind him. The whole thing just way too relaxed, you know. And so I think, you know, cropping this image, it really serves the justice and really worked in this particular moment. And but I wouldn't say the original image was bad. For, you know, by any means. I think it's actually a great photograph as well. It shows the reality, you know, of the actual, you know, scene with the soldiers. You know, soldiers were trained to be in that sort of situations. You know, like when they are not really holding gun and firing bullets. You know, that's the time when they can relax. You know, but for people who live there, you know, they face the terror day in, day out. They lost parents, they lost everything, even clothes in this particular instance, and you can feel the differences between the two, and that terror is continuous, is sustained for a long period of time, while the soldiers, on the other hand, nope, they don't feel it at all. Right, cool stuff. And so what I'm gonna do now, I'm gonna do something again very interesting. I'm going to go to the garden, have a talk. Remember, I really truly adore these little wireless things, and it's just fantastic. I know Ralph love it. Ralph already ordered one. It's the HoloLens 400S, and it's really cool. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to step outside once again to my garden. Let's continue our conversation while I'm enjoying a little bit of a sun. And let's try to switch my camera to this, and okay, right. It's going to be a bit weird because at the moment, of course, is a little bit dim. So I will need to slap on my ND filter once again and get my stuff open. Ooh, can you see me? I don't know if you can see me still. And whew, finally, okay, cool stuff. I want to see how it goes. Can you guys still see me properly? Still see me good? Oh, look at those bokeh. Yeah, the bokehs are going quite good, man. Okay, that's it. Okay, the ND filter is on. It's great. Looking great. So I can sit down here and talk to you guys more stuff. So let's have a look at my stream again, and hopefully it works on my phone, because last time it just didn't work, and I hate it sometimes when this technology stuff doesn't work. So because I still want to continue. Oh, there you go. I can see it now. Right, I can see all the comments here, so I want to continue seeing it, everything. Oh, Michael, good morning. Excellent that you can join me today. Fantastic. Okay, cool stuff. So what do you guys think about cropping images? And then I actually think that for aesthetic purposes, for let's say changing the actual message itself, or you enhance your images, is definitely for me is acceptable. I would not want to impose, like cropping images is a good thing like for just general practice. If you want to crop every single images, I don't think that's the right thing to do. If you are really starting to crop everything, hang on a second. How come I still having I'm actually seeing myself talking at the same time at the moment, so just 1 second, let me just how to actually switch it off. Damn it. Okay. Right, I've got it off now. So, so what do you guys think about the entire talking about cropping stuff? I mean, I really want to see your view on it, and whether you think what I just said is acceptable, and whether, like those wall photographs, for instance, whether cropping does enhance the message across to you as a viewer, or in general, whether you do agree like cropping images to enhance the photos, whether you also happy to, let's say, if you do so happen to have a high megapixel count camera, whether you would do like this heavy cropping that a lot of people out there are doing right now, because it's a common norm now, especially now. A lot of people who are using high megapixel count cameras, they feel that they have enough to justify the cropping, and becoming a more and more common practice for them to do so. For me, call me an old school guy. I believe if you have to crop so much in the frame, you're not having the right shot in the first place. For emergency purposes, I guess I can forgive that. For paparazzi purposes, if you really want to see the the stars, or people you're really trying to follow, like from like 500 meters away, and you have to crop in to see them, even though they are pixelated, they still want to get a shot. Fine, I can forgive that. But for you, if you are interested, passionate about photography, I think you really should try to avoid cropping heavily to get that shot. If you're just not long enough, if you don't have the gear, okay, yeah, I mean, I can still forgive that. But if you have the lens, get the right lens for that right shot that you want to capture. That's what I want to say. Okay, cool. So let's see what else you guys want to say, and then I am going to see more. All right, okay. And cropping isn't what you aim for, but it's more important sometimes to capture the moments that miss while switching lenses and moving. I think that's what Brad said earlier, which I already mentioned. That's pretty cool. Excellent stuff. Right. Fantastic. Okay, guys, and what is the time now? I have no idea. And oops. As an amateur, you do what suits you. As a pro, you were regularly doing significant crops. You probably need to up your skills. And yeah, but I mean, like I said, there is no right or wrong, and it's just my personal view about cropping images. And I do say that cropping can enhance your image, and the amount of crop is what I'm worried about to a lot of people who may not understand photography and just cropping for the sake of it, or cropping just for the fun of it, just because they have so much megapixels to play with. So I brought up with a film cameras, and I brought up with learning how to use a fixed focal length to compose a photograph. So this is why I always think like cropping is just sometimes just a little bit too much for me, to accept, and you have any right to disagree with me, but I just sometimes feel when you're cropping way too much, it just kind of destroys the purpose of capturing the photo in the first place, because you really want to get that. But yeah, you guys are correct, as well. If you don't have the gear and the time, you really want to get that shot, go ahead, do it, and then crop it afterward. But you do know the consequences is that you do lose a lot of details, because you're not maximizing all the megapixels that you have in the camera, and by cropping it, and so you can't really enlarge the shot. But then, like I mentioned, like right from the beginning of today's stream, is that if your primary reasons to share images through Facebook, Twitter, something, and along those lines in the social media platforms, those images are compressed hell. Like they're really heavy anyway, so you probably won't be able to see the details. So in that particular case, it's fine. But if you want to print big, unlikely, let's say you have a 20 megapixel, you crop it down to 4 megapixel, you can print about 6x4, but you can't really print slightly bigger than that. And if you got a 60 megapixel, 50 megapixel, if you crop a quarter of it, yeah, you can probably still enough to make an A4 print, I guess. So it's no right or wrong, isn't it? Okay, cool stuff. And let's see, I am going to probably end my stuff soon, and let's see what else you guys want to talk about. Oh, actually, Ralph couldn't see me. He just posted on my face on my stream. I thought you were talking about it. Okay, right. I thought you were actually in the stream. Let me just make it up a little bit. Ooh. I'm just gonna do a stream like this. Can you see me? Yes, I can see me. I love this setup, isn't it? This setup is totally cool. It makes me feel like I'm actually doing a live show on TV, which is actually pretty cool. And you know what? Yeah, this is something I really wanted to try, and I totally forgot about taking my macro lens, because I really want to change the lens live and then put a macro lens and just show you some of these spiders I have in my garden. And yeah, my kids hate them, but I thought it's pretty cool to maybe do some live videos of spiders crawling around in my garden, even though like really it's compressed mess. That's why I'm using a shallow depth of field lens, so none of you can see my messy garden. How's that? Cool. So I am going to end my live stream today. If you have any question whatsoever, please don't forget to drop me a line, drop me a message in the descriptions, and then I'll be able to answer them. Drop me a private message, whatever you feel you're comfortable with. And also, this wireless streaming thing is something that I totally adore, because look, I can step away from my computer, come out in the sun and do something that is completely wireless, and I really truly fascinated by the whole idea of using the streaming device. And this is fun. I love it. I should do more of this, and I'm just hoping that I can find an extender so I can extend the signal even further, so I can, let's say, walk around my my house. Because at the moment I do find that the wireless streaming, the Mars 400S is really good when it's having no obstruction. Of course, this is kind of the wireless thing anyway. Like have a line of sight, if I can walk actually straight line. As long as the receiver can see the transmitter, which is on top of the camera here, I can walk really far. According to them, if there is no wireless interference, and I can go as far as about 100 meters or so. I haven't tried 100 meters. My garden is not 100 meters long, so I can't go that far. But as soon as I go around the corner, and I seem that I lose the signal as soon as I turn around. So I guess because the too many brick walls there, and it just kind of blocks the signal quite significantly. Plus the fact that, you know, all around here, it's got a lot of houses around here. There must be a lot of Wi-Fi going on, so they're all operating around about the same similar frequencies, and really is heavily interfere with the transmission itself. So that's probably why it doesn't go as far as around the corner. But I guess if there is no Wi-Fi signals around here, it should be okay. So I heard another pop there. There might be someone trying to say something. Let's see. And otherwise, I am going to end my stream today. Let's see. All right, macro. Brad was saying, macro live stream. Do you like to see macro live stream? Okay, next week I'm gonna macro live stream. I'm gonna bring my macro lens. I have both the 33.5 macro and also the 62.8 macros. I can bring both of them out, and then just to see how close I can get to some of these bugs. And I see, I'm not a macro photographer as such, but I do like macro lens. I can see things in a completely different perspective. Like you can actually go so close to me and just kind of start seeing my nose hair and stuff like that. That would be horrible, right? And then Burana, thank you. Look good, mate. Stay safe. Have a wonderful weekend. Okay, you're going. Okay, Burana, have a good weekend yourself, and yeah, enjoy the sun. Hopefully you have sunny weather like we do here. Look how sunny this is. Let me show you how good. I'm trying to turn up the camera. I don't know if you can see the sky. Though, you see the sky? It's so blue. Oh, oops, it's definitely too bright now. Oh, okay. I'm loving this EM1 Mark III tracking. You know, it's really cool. You know, I can even see my face being tracked, my eyes being highlighted. That's awesome. And okay, cool stuff. Don't forget, next week it's going to be a completely different topics once again, and also have a YouTube live on Wednesday 3 p.m. so you're very welcome to join me. It's going to be a totally different topic. I'm hoping to change the topics a little bit so that we can do something rather different next week. So let's see, maybe switch up a little bit, like what Brad just suggested. Let's do a macro live stream. That might be something, right? Cool. Let me head back in there so I can say goodbye to all of you and end my stream properly. So I'm going to hold my camera with me. And the thing is, it's always quite hard to take it out from my little, of course, the actual tripod itself is really, really, really hard work. Oh, my God. But it's so sunny, it's so bright. Okay. Right, I'm coming back in. Oh. Excellent stuff. Right, okay, let me step it out so you can see me properly. And you can even see my setup. Let me just trying to adjust something here. Right, and whew. Okay, can you see? This is what I'm seeing at the moment, and you can see how weird that is. Look at that. Because I'm streaming within the stream, within the stream, within the stream. Look at that. I can do this really cool effect here. And that's my wireless signal receiver here. That's what it's been connecting to my camera and my computer. That's my main camera here, which is actually streaming for me right now. Let me just turn it back to my camera. There you go. Excellent stuff. So I hope you enjoyed that little trick there, and I think it's really fun for that live streaming thing, and is definitely very. Oh, Roman, yes, I'm still doing live at the moment. It's pretty fun, right? And I hope you guys enjoy these wireless things, and it's thank you Holyland as well, and because they totally inspire me for this utilizing the wireless transmitter to do streaming, because it's totally new to me, especially that when I first started live streaming, it's all about wire. It's always connected and stuck to my desk here, and now I can step outside to the garden and do the same thing while I can enjoy a little bit of sun. So next week, maybe every Friday, we should do like a coffee Friday. We can have a nice little chat, like friendly chat about anything. I think that would be cool, right? And Inception, yes, Inception the movie, right, Roman? Cool stuff. Brad, also cheers and have a good weekend. Oh, did you get your camera, by the way? Not camera, the lens. Has it arrived yet? And let me know how you get on with the new lens, the 40 to 150 2.8. Nice. I love the lens. To be honest, I think like all micro four third cameras, photographers should have that lens, and because this is a very very cool lens. Michael, great to see you. Stay safe and keep up the good work, and try to join you more. Are you doing more decorating? You're fantastic, mate. You know, Michael is another really cool photographer here. You know, and yeah, you should check his work out. He's a really nice guy. He's a really nice guy. Okay, cool stuff. Oh, Roman does have a question. Okay, one question: why there are no buttons on the left side of the camera? No buttons? No buttons? Hang on a second. I'm just trying to see. You mean on here? This is the left hand side does have buttons, and but it's like the frame buttons and the AF buttons on the Mark III. I think this is what you're trying to say, because there are, there are lots of buttons on the on the OMD bodies usually, unless you are looking for the lower end cameras. But even the I got the EM5, so EM10 here. Let me see. Well, the EM10 Mark III, it doesn't have, well, it does have one button, which is the digital zoom button, and I don't know why it's actually there. Oh, on the side. Oh, okay, on the side. But why would you have buttons on the side? Because you might accidentally press those buttons. So this is something that I probably wouldn't do, because I like it the way it is. And plus, I know it sounds a bit discriminative, but most people would use their right hand, and they try to congregate most of the access buttons on the right hand side, so you can kind of like navigate with it using your main hand, which is kind of the right hand. If you're left-handed, I think you kind of stuff, you have to use the right hand. And but yeah, this is, I think most manufacturers are doing the same thing. I used to be, when the camera is big enough, I remember like a lot of the DSLRs, they would have buttons on the left side of the screen. I think they still do that. And but these days, because the cameras are shrinking in terms of size, and they are trying to make it as aesthetically pleasing as possible, so everything just kind of smooth, streamlined, but I still like buttons. Don't you like buttons? I know, like, I wouldn't go as far as Leica. Leica's TL, is basically a smartphone with a lens on it, and so at the back of it, there's only a couple of buttons, and that's it. That's maybe for me, it's a little bit too simplified. I would love to have some touch capabilities, but I still like the physical buttons I can just access, just to touch it and press it, and you can get something done. And that's always something I like. Oh, Roman saying no. If you have a flip screen. Okay, if you have a flip screen, only function button, you don't hit the left. I'm still trying to figure out what you're trying to say. Sorry, it's probably just me. So if you have a flip screen, so this is a flip screen, right? And then the only function buttons, you don't hit the left. You get me there. Roman. And I try to understand that the meaning of left side buttons. I do, however, want to have more front buttons though. That's the thing. And of course, you do have front buttons here, where the grip is for the EM1 series, both the EM1X and the EM110, because they have 2 and 4 respectively, because EM1X has 4 buttons here for both orientation and portrait, and also the horizontal position, so you can have 4 custom buttons in the front, which is actually pretty cool. I love that. And for other cameras, yeah, I don't think they need that, just because it's not really what they're aiming for. Most people who buy the EM10 and the EM5 were usually the people who may not take them to work. You might do some serious photography work, but not for people who need really extreme quick access to certain features, because most pros would normally do that. They want to quickly change the settings and things like that, even though they have custom setting functions already on the camera, but they still want to quickly do something, let's say menu focusing, magnify and stuff like that. Just want to quickly access those, and that would be something that a lot of photographers would like to have. Okay, cool. Okay, cool. Excellent, and thank you for joining me. And I didn't expect that, a few questions right at the end, but thank you, Roman, for joining me. Even though it's a bit later today, yes, I'm still doing stream. Usually I would finish by now, and but next week is going to be a brand new week, brand new stuff. Like I said, maybe every Friday I'm going to change the topic. Because at the moment I'm having something called the Good Morning London with Jimmy Cheng, and every day on live Facebook. So on Friday maybe we're going to change it to let's have a coffee with Jimmy Cheng. So we do that. Maybe just have a coffee. I'm going to grab a coffee every Friday, just go outside and talk about something that you like to hear. Anything, you know, you can ask me anything. Let's have a Q&A stuff. Let's have some fun discussing about certain subjects, certain topics that you would like to hear, and then we could just go freestyle every Friday. So, oh, Roman's reply. Okay, I mean, hold your camera with the right hand. Okay, I need to work this out now, Roman. Okay, hold your camera with the right hand, so you don't hit the left side accidentally, and you can have some buttons there. Ah, yeah. Okay. Roman said you draw something and send it to me. Okay, sorry, my English is just not very good. No, so I have poor English. Okay, I think I kind of get what you mean, but then like if you have buttons on the side of the camera, let's say on the left hand side of the camera, wouldn't it, like let's say if you carry your camera around, wouldn't that hit it accidentally? Or if you kind of do this, possibly. I'm still not convinced having buttons right here though, even though I have my right hand holding the camera, and then you have a whole list of buttons here. I don't know if it's, I think ergonomically I can kind of I slowly getting it into it now. So if you got some buttons here, I guess you can actually just press these things here and do something, maybe. But then again, if you look at the possibility possibly it can be done on the EM10 Mark III because there's nothing going on the side. But on the EM1, EM5, they have all the ports there: the microphone jack, the headphone jack, the HDMI, the USB-C ports, all on the left-hand side. So unlikely you're gonna have space for buttons though. That's the thing. And no, you didn't write it confusingly, just me trying to understand it. But yeah, you get what I mean, yeah? And I think on the EM10 Mark III is definitely fine because there's nothing going on. But on the other cameras where they all have HDMI ports, they have mic jacks and USB-C now for charging and other communication purposes, they really don't have the space for buttons. But I think that space, yeah, it can be done. I think it's quite good that you have that kind of dual hand applications there, because most people hold the camera like this, right? You know, you have the lens in the front, and they can actually access the left hand side quite easily for some quick actions, I guess. You are inventive, Roman. You're inventive. Let me feed that back to Olympus to see whether they can do something. But of course, they probably won't change anything, especially on the cameras that has HDMI port, USB port, because that's what that side is for. And otherwise, they're going to change the whole chassis, change the whole motherboard designs that they currently have throughout the, you know, all the cameras that actually had those features. Likely there's going to be the case. But yeah, it's an interesting thought having buttons on the left. Yeah, I never really thought about that because I'm so used to the right and top having buttons, and maybe some of the front. Even some of the compact cameras, right? You know, maybe they can have something on the left. Interesting thought. Well, thank you, Roman, and thank you, people. And really, once again, thank you for joining me. And this Friday, it looks absolutely stunning and gorgeous. I have to say goodbye here now. I'm going to finish off my work. I'm going to do a couple of review videos, and hopefully I can post it sometime next week or so. This Sunday, originally I thought I may be able to do one video, but looks like that I'm going to slip away now. And I'm still trying to ease myself back into my normal review videos, but having two young children at home and constantly screaming is not easy to get myself up and trying to create some videos and also edit at night time. You know, by the time when they go to bed, I'm kind of half exhausted already. My brain is kind of half dead. So it's really extremely challenging for me to produce videos like that. So I'm hoping that I can get back to my usual self, and I just trying to get some review videos done. Although I have a lot of stuff. Yesterday I got another 2 boxes came in, and they're starting to scream that if I don't do something soon, they might gonna strangle me and say that okay, we're not gonna collaborate with you anymore. So like it's a pressure on me as well. So I really need to get something done. So hopefully I'll be able to pump some videos out next week, and things will start getting back to normal, my reviews and stuff like that on my YouTube channel. That will be cool. But in the meantime, if you are interested in anything that I'm showing you so far, if you have any questions whatsoever, like what Ralph did for my for this particular, the Mars 400S, he actually got a set as well, the Mars 400S, please feel free to talk to me. Any things that I have, you can see actually I got a new cap. It's called Fuel World. Yes, that's something that is coming as well, because I just received this, and really awesome screen. I just tested it. You can see some finger marks already. I just tested these. Extremely impressive, and I'm going to tell you more about it in my review. So yeah, it's not so much about streaming things. I probably won't show it on the stream, but I will show you in a review videos. Pretty cool. Excellent stuff. So you guys have a great weekend. I shall speak to you guys all very soon next week, and have a great weekend. And don't forget that you can join me on Wednesday YouTube live. Let me know what you want to talk about in my community post, and we can go from there. Have a fantastic day. Bye for now.